Lights, camera, action. Welcome to the Scrapbook Podcast, Director's Cut. And welcome back to the Scrapbook Podcast. I'm your host, Jody Pratt, with my fellow host,
Sunflower. And
I got a story to tell. And I need help maybe fleshing this out a little bit.
Okay.
But also the title, of like usual. Usual.
Okay.
Okay, so this takes place in Philadelphia, right? And in Philadelphia, there's a big culture in bikes, and
motorcycles, mopeds.
No, dirt bikes.
Oh, okay.
Right, and this takes place, I want to say, 2011 or so. And this is a coming to age movie. This is a coming to age joint. So be prepared for little kids and shit. And you got 4 friends. The leader is Deshaun. You got Mark, best friend of Deshaun. Melvin, he's a nerd. And then you got Dookie. He's an angry nigga. Right? He's a jock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's the hothead. And they ride together like a motherfucker, bro. There's nothing breaking these niggas, and they're always ready to go. And it opens up with them just smashing down the street, swerving in front of cars, swerving out of the way. You know what I'm saying? Them like joining a big group, and everybody's talking shit and doing wheelies and stuff like that, and then them breaking off into their own shit. Mm-hmm. And, going to the corner store, getting some, some snacks and shit like that, then going back to Deshaun's house and having a sleepover and shit like that. And everybody, they're all black youth. It's beautiful. They're all together. Deshaun's parents are together. You know what I mean? His dad works fucking hard. Mm-hmm. Sees them all in the living room as he's coming home from work. And he comes in, and Deshaun just kind of pauses a little bit, not upset. He's like, I didn't run past Dad with this. Yeah. I kind of just invited these niggas in here. And then Deshaun's dad just like, Dookie, take your fucking feet off from my table. And then Dookie's like, okay. I'm like, my bad, Mr. Deshaun's dad. And he just like, you know my name. He's like, okay. And I want to say they're all about 10, 11, maybe a little bit older. Okay. But I want 10, 11, maybe 12. And so this goes like that the first time, and everybody, wakes up the next morning. And Mark is late. He's like, dude, my mom's gonna fucking kill me, like my little sister's birthday. And he's like, yo, dude, chill, my nigga, like your bike isn't even done. I didn't even put your shit back on there. He's like, it's good, bro. I'll take your bike. He's like, no, my mom will just take you home. You live hella far away, bro. Not even hella far away, but it's like, if they're not talking on this bike ride, it's a long ass ride.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And Mark is just like, no, bro, I'm good. I'll just take your bike, nigga. It's good, bro. He was like, just be careful, because you gotta. He's like, yeah, bro. I rode your shit before. All right. He goes back to sleep. Dookie and fucking Melvin, they're all crashed out and shit like that. Mm-hmm. And Deshaun goes back to sleep, and he wakes up to his mom like screaming over the fucking phone. And he's just like, what the fuck is going on? Like everybody, all the, Melvin and Dookie get up. Mm. Like what's going on? And she's like breaking down crying and shit. And she's like, Mark got hit by a car.
Oh, goodness.
Like riding back home. And they're like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? They smashed down to the hospital. And he's on life support and shit. Oh, and he's fucked up. Like, bad fucked up. And they're like, you know what I mean? He's going to make it and shit like that. Mm-hmm. And it's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. His mom was just like, you know what I mean? You guys can go say, goodbye. He's fucking, man. You know what I mean? He's brain dead. And they go in there one by one, and Deshaun's just talking to him and shit like that. And he was just like, man, bro, I told you, nigga. Like, you know what I mean? Talking to this nigga. Yeah. And he's not responding. And he's going through the motions. He's going through all of the stages of grief. Like, as this conversation is going on. So that's how it kind of develops into this shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, remember, nigga, you wanted to do how you want to do, you know, BMX and shit, and I laughed at you, bro. I'm gonna live this dream for you. You know what I mean? Because they always wanted some legitimacy to what they're doing. Maybe they're like 13, 14. So I changed it up.
Okay, yeah, that makes a little, yeah.
And I want to bring legitimacy to this shit because I'm tired of motherfuckers looking down at us. You wanted to do this for a living, like you love riding bikes and shit like that. He's talking to him and shit, and that's what we're gonna do. Like, I promise you, dog. I promise you. You know what I'm saying? And then he's just like, man, like, you know what I mean? Crying and shit, weeping. Good ass little kid actor, just crying his fucking ass off.
Yeah.
Right. And he goes up there, and then, you know, and they pull the plug and shit.
Oh goodness.
Then the funeral comes and shit, and you know what I mean? It's dark. Then he's like, Deshaun's like refusing to get on the bike and shit like that. He wants to. Then he brings it. No. How about this? He brings it up to his folks and shit like that. Like after the funeral, he was like, I want to get into, you know what I mean, BMX and shit. He was like, Deshaun's dad's like, you know how much that shit costs? He was like, no, because Deshaun looked this shit up over the week and a half before the hospital and then the funeral. Yeah. And he's like, no, I, you know, this and that, you know what I'm saying? They sponsor people, you know what I mean? And if you do this time and then the county races and you can apply, you know what I'm saying? He's just like working it out. And his dad's just like, all right, okay, I'm going to let you learn this lesson. That's the kind of dad that Deshaun's dad is. I'm going to let this, and then he knows that, Deshaun knows that his dad can talk Melvin's dad and Dookie's dad into this shit for them to be okay. You know what I mean? And for them to go and trust him in this direction. And they, you know, get together and shit like that, and they go to the course, the BMX course and shit. And BMX course. Mm-hmm. And Deshaun's dad wants him to live, you know what I mean? Live that life, live in error and shit like that. Right. So it's like, bro, we don't belong here. I'm not going to tell you that we don't, but I want you to feel that. So he gets out like on the bike and everybody's just like, oh, bro, that's not even standard for BMX, bro. Yeah. You're doing it on a whatever the fuck, and then it's supposed to be like this. Then he's like doing it and shit like that, falling, biffing it and shit like that. At first he was relishing, Deshaun's dad was relishing in it, watching all these kids, Deshaun, Melvin, and Dookie, fuck up and smash and crash and all this shit like that. But then they started to get it, and then he started to cheer them on. He started being quiet when they fell instead of laughing. Yeah. And then cheering them on and shit like that. And they end up getting faster and faster, riding all into the daylight. Next day they go in there because this is about summertime, okay? Mm-hmm. And they're getting better and better and better and better. Like, and then it's time to do a race. You feel me? And Deshaun feels like he's ready, and then, you know, Melvin's just like, the logistics behind it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Dookie's just like, bro, I'm ready to rock, nigga. Like, I don't give a fuck, bro. Like, let's do it. So Dookie and Deshaun go. Dookie crashes out. Somebody cut him off, and then he ended up knocking out two other people by throwing his helmet at the motherfucker before he fell. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He got disqualified from that race, right? And then Sean was smashing around the corner, you know, hitting that shit. And he almost gets into, you know what I mean, like top 5. And then somebody cuts him off like dirty shit. Yeah. And pushes him off, and they roll into top 5. And he, you know what I mean, he placed 6th. Mm. And when he comes by and he's like confronting the person that cut him off, the person takes off their helmet, and then just this gorgeous little fucking 13-year-old black girl. You know what I'm saying? And she's like, what? And he's like, oh shit. Fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, what the heck, man? And she's just like, you know what I mean? You got to get a little bit closer around the around the edges and shit like that. You know what I mean? Better luck next time. And he's like, what the fuck? And then somebody who, like, took Dookie's punishment, or somebody who's like an advocate, one of the kids who placed in like top 3, he was like, oh, that's Jenny. He was like, Jenny? He was like, yeah, man. You know what I mean? Her parents are this and that. She was adopted by white parents, white people. And she's been, you know what I mean? She's been running this shit since she was like 8, you know. And that's her boyfriend right there. And the nigga who plays first place. So it's kind of like a, so how about she plays second and then Gavin plays first? That's her boyfriend. Gavin Tintry, right? And his dad owns this course.
Oh, of course he does.
You know what I'm saying? And he's like, that's her boyfriend? And he's like, yeah, like, don't even, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, sorry, man. You know what I mean? Better luck next time. And he's like, what's your name? He was like, Deshaun. He's like, hey, you know what I mean? You're a fucking natural at this shit. You know, blah, blah. And Dookie's over there just like, man, fuck this place, bro. He's like real mouthy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even little pussies over here, bro. Let's go, you know what I mean? Let's go back to the streets, dude, like what we were doing before, bro. It's like nobody was competing with each other. It was like whoever did a wheelie. He was like, Deshaun's like, dude, you know we got to do this for Mark. And then come back together. He's like, fuck. Yeah, you're right. And Melvin comes in and just like, see, I told you. I told you what was going to happen. Like, you know, whatever the fucking accent that was. I told you what was going to happen. And he was like, yeah, dude, you're not fucking helping. He was like, oh, on the contrary. And like brings out like schematics for like this badass BMX bike. And then while he's explaining to Dookie, because Dookie's just like, what the fuck are you saying, bro? Dookie's he's not an idiot, but he's more of an action motherfucker.
Right.
Just put him on the bike.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, dude, what? And he's just like, you know, they butt heads. The nerd and the fucking overbearing person, they butt heads. And Deshaun just staring at Jenny while she's talking to her parents and shit like that. They're kind of chastising her a little bit. And they're like, dude, you gave up the lead for this motherfucker. Like, what are you doing? You always do this shit.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, no, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I was less on the clutch, or I mean, not the clutch, but the brakes and shit like that, and I was blah, blah, blah. He's like, I don't want to fucking hear it. You know, whatever. Her dad, very like, you got to fucking win this shit. And everybody else stopped looking at the schematics that Melvin came up with, and they're staring at her. He was like, who's that? He was like, Jimmy. And Dookie's just like, that ain't her real fucking name, bro. And he was like, Dookie's not your real name. He was like, I was like, yeah. He was like, you don't want to hear what my real name is. You know what I mean? That's like a mystery around that shit. But yeah, so they go and they race more and shit like that. Every weekend they're up there. Even on the weekdays, they get more practice in and shit like that. Maybe there's conflict between a trainer and Deshaun's dad. Okay. When Deshaun's dad is like coaching them now. He's like so pro them that he's like coaching them and shit. And they're just like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you guys need any... He's like, hey, yo, back up. Deshaun's dad's just like, we don't need any fucking handouts. You know what I mean? We got this shit. He's like, hey, man, you know what I mean? I'm sorry. But they got, you know, hand-me-down type of things. Yeah. And he's like, why are you assuming that? You know what I mean? And he's just like, oh, hey, I'm sorry, pal. Type of thing. Yeah. So Melvin helps everybody out. He's a mechanic nigga. He puts shit together. They get the bike that Mark died on. And they disband it and they equal out the parts for everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As a salute to him, and a part of it is and on everybody's bike.
Yeah, he's in the race too.
Exactly. So they start to actually do decent. They start to, whenever Gavin is not there or Jenny's not there, they're placing second or they're getting first every once in a while. And next thing you know, they're 25 races in.
Wow.
Like midsummer. They're going out of county. They're doing shit like that. They're really fucking killing it because they've been getting the fuck out of the way of cars.
Yeah.
Their agility is there. Their speed is there. Their strength is there. Their endurance is there. It's just on dirt now. You know what I mean? And so that conversion came natural, really. So I want there to be conflict with Deshaun and Gavin.
Okay.
Like stare downs and shit like that. He's like, you know what I mean? Church of Chicken is that way type of nigga. But he has Jenny on his arm, though.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a cultural, like, she knows it's wrong.
Yeah.
But all she knows is this culture, white culture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so maybe one time they're having like a fundraiser. And Deshaun's mom cooks some like good ass fucking peach cobbler or some shit like that. Everybody's eating that shit up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're loving that shit, paying the money and shit like that. And he gets a chance to talk to Jenny. Deshaun does. And Deshaun's just like, Jenny, this and that. And they're kind of flirting with each other. He's like, oh, my real name is Janisha. And he's like, why the fuck don't you go by Janisha? And he's like, you know what I'm saying? She gives a look in her eyes like, you know goddamn well why.
Yeah, you know exactly why.
I had to assimilate, bro. I constantly code switch. I have to. Like, otherwise I'm going to be even more of an outcast. I don't have my real parents. And on top of, I have to assimilate into this culture and call it my own, while across town, that's my culture.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even let me listen to, whatever, Meek Mill or some shit like that. But yeah, so they get together and Gavin comes in and he's like, hey, man, what the fuck, bro? Back the fuck up. He's just like, hey. And you know what I'm saying? Like, they kind of show each other back and forth, and Dookie just like drops his fork, was like holding the peach cobbler in his hand. He was like, hey, motherfucker, you better back up, bitch. And Gavin just like, what are you going to do? And then he like grabs the peach cobbler and just like smashes it in Gavin's face. And he's just like, and I love that peach cobbler. Just picture what I, do to you if I didn't have some shit I loved in my hand, mother bitch ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's so frustrated.
Action.
Exactly. He's all about the action. And Melvin just like, hey, break it up, man, break it up. And then a couple of Gavin's goons go over there, and they're just like kind of like a little bit of brawling, And then the Tentry's dad comes in, says, hey, break it up. You know what I'm saying? And then Deshaun's dad comes in, break it up, break it up, break it up. You know what I mean? You figure this shit out on the track.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The county finals are coming up, so you guys get ready. And they kind of look at each other. And so Deshaun finds Jenny on social media, and they're like talking back and forth and shit. And I wanted to be like messaging back and forth, and they're kind of flirting and shit. And he's like, hey, you want to meet up somewhere? And they're like, for sure. And Melvin wanted everybody to come and come up with a game plan and shit like that. And he ditches them to go hang out with Jenny. And in turn, it was a trap. And it was Gavin the whole time. And they jumped Deshaun. Right?
Damn.
And he comes back, and this is where the fallout happens. Because they're like, bro, you're supposed to be with us, nigga. And he's like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, you know what I mean? They lie. You don't lie to the boys.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what they call each other, the boys. You don't lie to the boys, bro. Like, we always had each other's back. Even way before anything, bro. You remember the first time, Dookie saying, remember the first time I ever, saved you from you getting your ass kicked? Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Saying shit like that. And they go back and forth and the fallout happens. Melvin's just like, we're friends. And Dookie's just like, shut the fuck up. Talk too much, nigga. And then, like, Melvin kind of flinches and, like, holds, like, a ratchet in his hand. He's like, come on, cocksucker. You know what I mean? Talk shit like that. And so they all fall out. Deshaun's got ice on his fucking forehead. 2 weeks from now is the finals. And his mom's just like, what's going on? And he's just like weeping, bro. He's crying so fucking hard, dog. He misses his boy Mark. He's like, I fucked up. Niggas jumped me, bro. Like, and don't tell dad type of shit. And he's just like, his mom just, puts mom wisdom down there.
Yeah.
And he like cries in her arms and shit. And he calls up Dookie and Melvin and shit. And they meet up with each other and apologize and shit. And he gets a phone call from, Deshaun gets a phone call from Jenny. And he doesn't pick it up. You know what I mean? And they go over the game plan and they're practicing and shit like that. And then they go back to the streets to where the candlelight, visual joint is for Mark. Mm-hmm. And they kind of sit there and just be like, they cry and they hug each other and shit. And like, this is for you, my nigga. And they go out. The next day is the finals. So they go out there. Everybody's racing. There's 3 of them. There's like better odds, nigga. Like, let's do it.
Yep.
But there's like 20 people ready to ride. So they go, they're riding and shit like that. And they find out it's a tournament style. You know what I mean? It's brackets and shit. So you have whoever out of these 4 people ride the fastest.
Yeah.
Then you move on to the next stage and the next stage and the next stage, shit like that. However they do it, I'm doing it this way. So fuck you. Yeah. You know what I mean? So they do that. And Melvin, fucking Dookie's out there like the second bracket. You know what I mean? He's like, man, fuck this shit, bro. But he's out there just like, hella pro them, the boys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you'd have them make it. Melvin and Deshaun make it to the end. And I want there to be like eight people. Right? And Melvin's just like, remember, do this and that. You know what I mean? The weight shift this way, counter. He's like, I got you, Melvin. Don't trip. He's like, bet. And maybe Melvin he's unable to continue. Like maybe the bracket before the top, he injures himself like real bad. And somebody else replaces him. Something like that. Right? And they go and fucking they're racing. Jenny's up there. Like maybe before the final start, Jenny's just like, I want to say, sorry. He's like, man, I don't need your sorry, bro. Just don't forget who you are on the inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're Janisha, bro. Like, just don't forget who you are. He's just like, they have a bit of a. I don't want there to be a love story. I hate that shit.
Understandable. Plus they're young. It doesn't really need to be.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be that shit, bro. But it's something cute. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, maybe after we can go for a soda. And she's like, I'd like that.
Milkshake?
Exactly. You know what I mean? I'd like that. And he's like, yeah. See Gavin in the background. He's just like, you don't have to worry about him anymore. He's not in my life. Some shit like that. So they race. And it's fucking neck and neck, bro. Like, all the tips Melvin said, Melvin studied all that shit, bro. He's already in fucking college, AP fucking type of calculus and shit like that. So he knows geometry is like, he took that shit in 2nd grade type of shit. So he's just like, dude, this, that. And he's following everything, the game plan. And he just remembers the argument and not the argument, but him telling Mark, take my bike, bro.
Yeah.
Just remember, And then if he just finished that sentence, maybe it would have been something different. Survivor's guilt type of shit. Yeah. And he takes his eye off the ball for a little bit, almost skirts, but he knows now, keep focused, bro. Keep focused. Whatever. Let those stages of grief hit you. It's okay. Let it flood over you for the moment. But when you're focused on something, that cannot stand. You got to focus on the task ahead. And they're racing and shit like that. And what Jenny usually does was some shake and bake shit. Some Talladega Night shit where she would run over or run in front of somebody to get Gavin
to go further.
First place. Mm-hmm. Now that she's not fucking with Gavin, Gavin's like hard third, hard fourth. You know what I mean? And Gavin's dad's losing it. And he's like, come on. And then, Janisha's dad is like, fuck yeah. And Deshawn is second place, right? Just nipping the back of her tires. And he's like, I could bop her out of the way. I could do that. But he takes like the high road. And they're coming up super fucking hard. Gavin does some foul shit. And just like, if I'm not winning, nobody's winning. Burns so fucking hard to get up to at least second place and tries to kamikaze that shit. You know what I mean? And unbeknownst to him, like the rules have changed this summer. And then you can pause that shit and then they can redo that shit. The race doesn't still go on. Mm-hmm. And Gavin fucked himself up enough that he couldn't continue. So they restarted the shit. And it was like, whoever they had left. And they reset, they reset that shit. It could be any fucking thing. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
But they go and Deshawn and Jenny just, it looked like a fucking tie. And they are so ahead of the game. It was like a photo finish kind of thing. And Deshawn just edged that bitch just enough. Just enough. Deshawn's dad loses it, bro. Dookie's dad's out there and shit like that. And Melvin is in there like going fucking nuts, bro. Melvin's all slinged up and shit with a cat, like a split on his fucking leg and shit like that.
That's what you get.
And Gavin's just like pissed off, bro. Like throwing his helmet on the ground. And his dad says some shit, like some heroic shit, like, you know what I mean? Don't be a sourpuss now. Some shit like that. And they go in the front. They go to the podium and shit. And he looks down at Janisha and he's just like, you let me win that, huh? Mm-hmm. And she was like a kind of a smirk, but like a shoulder shrug, but like a, nah, you got that shit, bro.
What about the milkshakes?
Yeah, exactly, right? And his dad goes to see him and he's like, son, blah, blah, giving him, props and shit like that. And Mark's parents are in the stadium and shit like that. And he goes up and hugs him and shit like that. And he's crying. He looks up at his mom, and Mark's mom is crying and shit like that. He's like, I know, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then he gives them the first place trophy that he got.
Oh my goodness.
You know what I'm saying? And it ends, I want this nigga Deshaun's dad to like grab Deshaun up and like throw him in the air and like freeze frame. He's like, wow, yeah. And it's like, you know what I mean? Bringing legitimacy to something that people think is illegitimate. Bringing strength to weakness, bringing camaraderie after falling out. You know what I mean? The boys, you know what I mean? They live it.
Yeah.
Shit like that. How you like that?
That was better than when you tried to tell me before.
Yeah, I only have, this page it's literally like a third of a page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely a coming of age for sure.
Yeah, whenever I'm not into it, I mean not into it, but whenever I'm not in front of a microphone,
that's not
I give like a loose.
Yeah. Well,
whenever we're faded in the kitchen, standing like taking 5 shots back to back, and I'm just like playing some shit. I'm like, damn, I wish I was in front of a microphone right now. Man, I get really enthusiastic. I know, right? Yeah. What do you want to call it?
I've been struggling. I'm trying to think of. I almost wanted to do like a play on a BMX, and then I got like yay far, and it didn't work out. And you know what else popped up in my head?
What?
Angels in the outfield.
Angels in the outfield. Yeah, there's something like that.
When I think of BMX dirt mounds, ma'am, I'm stumping.
Blanking.
Yeah. Something with Mark.
From the streets to the dirt. From the streets to the course. Bike in, blood out.
Jeez. Oh man. I kind of like the from the streets notion.
How about this? We throw a real cornball. I'll ride for you.
Oh, that's cute.
That's so cute,
That's
right?
cute.
That's so fucking cute. I'll ride for you. That's what I'm gonna call it. Yeah.
Oh, that's so gay.
Yeah, it's so good. Oh, so raggedy. Boom. I'll ride for you. This is hard as fuck, guys. Hey, this is your host, Jody Pratt, my fellow host.
Sunflower.
This was I'll Ride For You. A BMX fucking coming to age story set in 2012 or 11 or something like that in Philadelphia. We in here. Yeah? Like that?
Yeah.
What would you rate that out of the stories I told?
Today?
Yeah. I wanted you to remember.
I would say that's a solid 7, 8, 7.5.
Ooh.
We'll do a 7.5,
bro. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Don't be,
Yeah, I'm I thought acid was hard.
Because my first one was 6.5.
Yeah, no, nigga. I'm telling the story.
No, I mean today.
Oh.
I was gonna say 6.5, but I thought about it and it was interesting, so 7.5.
Oh. Okay. You're offensive, bro. All right, boom, pal. How you like me now? This is the Scrapbook Podcast Director's Cut. I am your host, Jody Proud, my fellow host.
Sunflower.
And I said it, and I'm going to say it again. Fuck it. We are the Scrapbook Podcast everywhere. We are the Scrapbook Podcast on Instagram. DM us, whatever the fuck. We are the Scrapbook Podcast on Facebook. The Scrapbook Podcast everywhere, except for YouTube. We'll be up there soon. We love you. Don't stop being creative. Peace.
Bye.